The number landed, Warband, and it landed on the Fed's case like a thrown axe. For a week, I told you to mark this Thursday, the one print that could swing the whole rate argument before the desks go dark for the holiday. Thursday kept the appointment. This is Thursday, July 2nd, 2026. And for the first time in weeks, hard money is the loudest thing on the board. Start with the tape, because the tape is finally green. As of 9:45 Eastern, Bitcoin trades at 61,800, up better than 4% over the past day, and better than 7% off yesterday's 21-month low, near 57,700. That is the first decisive reclaim of the 60,000 line in over a week, and the whole complex ran with it. Ethereum is up better than 7% to 1,710. Solana is up better than $8 to $82. And Strategy, the most levered Bitcoin expression on the board, the name under siege all week, snapped back double digits at the open to 103. But mark what the engine did before any of that data hit. Wednesday afternoon, the InvestAnswers Decision Support System, the engine, cut the power names Vistra and Quanta to optimize trend bearish. At the closing bell, it swung again, cutting Marvel, Coherent, and the South Korea chip fund, with Micron following by evening. And in the same sweep, it threw AMD and Astera Labs overbought, stretched too far, too fast. That is a full rank of the abundance trade, losing its green in a single afternoon. And one more cut in that closing bell sweep. SpaceX itself, trend bearish, 5 days before the rocket joins the Nasdaq 100 and the passive money has to buy at whatever price it finds. The signal says one thing, the flows will say another, and next week they fight it out in the open. Through all of it, the engine has still not flipped Bitcoin's own trend green. 3 green flips died in June. The engine waits. So do we. One calendar note. New York is dark tomorrow for Independence Day, so today is the last session of the week. Thin desks, short fuses. Now the print itself. At 8:30 this morning, the June jobs report landed, pulled forward a day by the holiday, and the economy added 57,000 jobs against 115,000 expected, half the consensus. Unemployment actually ticked down to 4.2%, a messy, two-sided report. But the bond market picked its side within minutes. The 2-year yield fell, stocks rose, and the market began pricing away the one thing that has been strangling this tape since the middle of June, the threat of a hike. Walk the week backward and the shape is unmistakable. Tuesday, the private payroll count came in at 98,000 against 120 expected, the first tell. The same day, the new Fed chairman spoke with two hands. Prices are still too high, no promise of a July cut. But inflation risks have come down, and the artificial intelligence build-out may be expanding what the economy can supply, not just what it demands. Two-handed words. This morning, the data grabbed one of those hands and pulled. Remember what the whole June bleed was priced against. In the middle of June, the Fed's own projections flipped from pricing cuts to pricing a hike, and by Monday, the futures market carried a year-end hike as a strong base case, near 80% odds. That weight crushed the scarce assets hardest, the worst month of Bitcoin fund outflows on record, more than $4 billion pulled. Late in June, Jordi Visser called that bleed a debasement capitulation, a crowded hard asset trade shaken out of weak hands while nothing changed underneath. The deficits kept running, the debt kept compounding. This morning delivered the first hard data against the premise that forced that shakeout. A Fed being dared to hike into an economy, adding 57,000 jobs is a Fed running out of theirs. Now the discipline, because one print is not a regime. The engine still holds Bitcoin's trend bearish, and as of yesterday's count, the fund outflows had not yet turned. But fresh chain data out this morning shows the long-term holders have flipped back to net accumulation. modest so far, led by the small and mid-sized wallets, while the whales sit neutral. The floor is being bought by the patient, not the loud. What confirms the turn is simple: the engine marking Bitcoin green, and 60,000 holding as floor rather than ceiling through a thin holiday tape. Hard money does not lobby the committee. It waits for the committee's case to crack. And this morning brought the first crack on Tesla. While the macro was breaking, Tesla filed its second quarter scorecard: 480,126 vehicles delivered. The street consensus, 21 analysts deep, sat at 406,000. That is a beat of 74,000 cars, 18% over the bar. Production came in around 452,000, which means Tesla delivered 28,000 more cars than it built this quarter and drained its yards to do it. Demand outran the factories. And riding beside the cars, 13.5 gigawatt-hours of energy storage deployed in a single quarter, the quiet second business compounding while the crowd argues about the first. Read the tape against the print, because there is a lesson in the gap. The stock had already run from about 380 last Friday to 425 by last night's close, better than 10% into the number. And the prediction markets carried a delivery beat above 475,000 as a 2-to-1 favorite, even while the analyst consensus sat at 406. When the print landed at 480, the stock exhaled, easing a couple percent at the open to around 414. The spreadsheets missed by 74,000 cars. The tape barely blinked because the tape had already eaten it. When a consensus and a market with money at stake disagree, trust the money. The deeper meaning is simpler still. The demand question that stalked this company all spring just got its answer, and every one of those 480,000 cars is cash flow feeding the machines the crowd is still arguing about: the robotaxi fleet, the humanoid line, the training compute. Cathie Wood's shop was adding Tesla back in late June before the print target unchanged at 2,600 by 2029. The margin question waits for earnings on July 22nd. The demand question was answered this morning. So carry this into the long weekend, Warband. The macro case that bled the scarce assets all June took its first hard data hit today, and the coins ran before the ink dried. The engine has not blessed the turn, so the strong hand stays measured. Respect the red trend until it flips, and let 60 prove itself as a floor through the thin tape. Tesla answered the only question that mattered with 74,000 extra cars. New York sleeps tomorrow. The time chain does not, and neither does the watch. This is Warband as a service. Viking intelligence delivered in real time. I am Ragnar, the HODLBARBARIan. Stack while the desks are dark. Skull.